What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson here with this week's edition of STOMPBOX Saturday, and it brings me great pleasure to show off to you all what is on the stomping block this week. It is the D&M Drive from Keeley Electronics, and of course, the D and M stands for my very good friends Dan Steinhardt and Mick Taylor of That Pedal Show. I couldn't think of two guys that deserve a signature pedal more. They're just incredibly nice guys. Their show is great and serves as a great inspiration to me. It also helps that Dan happens to make the G2 that I swear by for my live performance, and he has shown me immense kindness over the years since I first got it and has given me tons of tips on how to make my G2 switching system and pedal board better. This thing is quite a pedal, and I know many of you out there probably already have your eye on this pedal or already have it in your collection, and I definitely know why now that I've gotten a chance to play one. This thing sounds killer, and it's probably the simplest, most desirable pedal on the market right now. It's two overdrives with two different flavors to suit the tastes of Dan and Mick respectively. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're working with here, and we'll dive into the sounds. So each side has its own set of volume, gain, and tone knobs. Dan's side is going to be a little bit more full range, a little bit more heavy, kind of bordering on distortion, and Mick's side is going to be a little bit more of a boost, sort of like a cross between a Klon and a tube screamer. A lot of people seem to think it's based off a Klon, but I think there's a lot more mid-range content to it, which makes it a little bit more in the tube screamer school. You can run either of them independently. You can stack both on top of each other. You can run Dan's side into Mick's side. You can run Mick's side into Dan's side. There's a lot of different tonal options available to you just with the pedal as it comes stock. Now, the real secret of this is that the input and output jacks are TRS jacks. So when you open up the back of the pedal, there are 4 dip switches. Flick all of those up, and you'll be able to use TRS breakout cables to use in and out for each side. So if you're like me and you have a G2 or some other switching system, like you would ever own any other pedal switcher other than the G2, you can go ahead and route each side to its own loop on the looper. So before we go into the settings that I like and how I think it sounds best for my style of playing, let's go ahead and mess around with the knobs and see what exactly we're working with here. How much drive is in the gain knobs and how much tone and what that range is. So I'm going to go ahead and play my trusty Les Paul into the Orange Rock Reverb 100, and this is the clean tone, and we will start with the D side. There's quite a lot of gain on each side. There's a good amount of range to the tones, so you can really dial in just about any kind of drive sound you're looking for. So let's find those sounds right now. So let's start out by checking out the D&M in front of a clean channel. Now this is where I feel like Dan's side really shines. You get a really full voice drive, and the setting that I have right now, it's pretty darn thick and is probably one of my favorites. At the higher range of the gain knob, it almost takes on a little bit of a fuzzier quality, so you could easily use that same setting for leads. Man, that thing sustains out like crazy. Sounds awesome. But what's really cool is using the setting that I have on Mick's side in conjunction with it. By itself, I really like it. It kind of lends a new quality to the EQ. It adds a little bit of color as well. Kind of gets you into the BB territory a little bit. I mean king by that, in case you didn't know. But combining the two together, Mick kind of tightens up Dan's side, and it just comes together to make this really nice, thick, tight rhythm and lead tone. With these same settings, we can kind of change up that sound from a super saturated thing to a little bit more of just Dan's side louder. So we're going to go ahead and take the switch and flip it over to the left, which is going to put Dan into Mick, which is essentially just going to boost the level. So from here, we get this. Now, of course, this isn't your typical one-knob transparent boost, so you're going to get a little bit of coloration from Mick's side of the boost. But it adds a little bit of a different character so that things really sustain out. It just has tons of gain to it, but the gain is nice and musical. It sustains out beautifully. It doesn't feel like just driving too many distortion pedals together. They complement each other so well. So now let's check out the D&M in front of a dirty sound, which we start out like so. Let's check out how each side individually affects that tone. First with Mick, just going for a boost here, kind of adding a little bit of gain, but more push so that we just really feel it rumble our seat. Even through all that gain, you can hear all 6 notes in that last chord that I played, which is something that you can't really say for other overdrives on top of a high gain sound. They almost add this weird clashing gain and clashing EQ. So this one's tuned very nicely. Let's check out this setting that I have on Dan's side in front of that same sound. Oh, it's so meaty. This is all kinds of good things. I'm really enjoying this. All right, I have my trusty blue Strat with me, and now let's see how the D&M sounds with some single coil pickups. Now we're just gonna stick on the clean channel here. I feel like that's where the Strat and D&M pairing really shines, is when Dan's side is doing the bulk of your distortion, and you get a really cool boost from Mick. So, with this basic sound, this is what we get out of the pedal. Now let's go ahead and check out Dan's side with the Strat. Now I have a fair amount of gain, but I've rolled the tone back because, Strats are typically brighter sounding instruments. So it's time to check it out. That, my friends, is the D&M Drive from Keeley Electronics and the guys from That Pedal Show. I gotta say, this is probably the best sounding overdrive I've played in a very long time. Each side of the pedal sounds great individually, and when you pair them together, they just complement each other so well. I feel like Mick's boost side lends a really cool, magical secret sauce, if you will, to your basic sound, and Dan's side is just full force, in-your-face gain that can serve as a foundation or as a little bit of a seasoning on top of a good steak, if you will. I think it sounds great, and it's immediately going on my pedal board. Even more amazing is that my wife thinks it's the best sounding pedal I've ever demoed. Win! So thanks, Robert. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Mick. Thank you for all that you have done for me and your support. But hey, I want to know what you guys thought of the D&M. If you have one, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you like about it. Be sure you click that subscribe button when you see it so you don't miss the next episode of STOMPBOX Saturday. And until then, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you all great tone and happy stomping. Cheers.